If there's one question I would say that I get all the time, and it has been a recurring question for the last 5 or 6 years, it is, what do I do if I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I cannot fall back asleep? What is causing this and how do I fix it? It's definitely an issue that a lot of people struggle with, and especially my ladies, when they get over a certain age, this increases. So today I'm sharing with you a live stream I did over on Instagram on Wednesday, December the 18th, 2024, to really discuss this topic, talk about it in depth. I'm going to be posting it on the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel, as well as the Evolving Wellness podcast. And I'll say in the video, if you want these specific links, comment info and I'll give you the links. But if you're listening to the podcast or if you're over on YouTube, I have those links posted for you in the show notes. So no need to comment info. If you're on the audio only, you can't comment info. But if you're on YouTube, just go to the show notes or the pinned comment and you can find the links that I'm talking about. One other quick thing before I start this live stream, I want to give the opportunity to people who watch the YouTube channel and also listen to the podcast to ask me questions for 2 upcoming episodes on December 25th and January 1st. I'm going to be filming on Monday the 23rd and possibly that Monday before New Year's if I have the time and childcare available. And I want to take viewer questions. People listen to the show and interact with me. So there's going to be a link in the show notes. Again, there'll be the other links I talk about my January coaching group and getting the early bird special that'll end on Christmas Day, my free cortisol guide. All those will be in the show notes, but there's going to be another link in the show notes that'll say ask me questions. And if you want to submit questions for those upcoming episodes, then go ahead and follow that link and you can fill them out there. I only ask that we don't do medical questions. I can't answer specific medical questions, and limit to 2 questions per person so I can make sure everyone, hopefully I can answer all the questions of people who submit them. And I really, really do appreciate you being here, listening to the show, watching the channel, wherever you're at. Make sure you are subscribed and feel free to share this episode with anyone who you feel could be helped by it. Again, the links for everything I talk about will be in the show notes. I'm opening up my coaching group. There is an early bird special. If you grab it before Christmas Day, I'm trying to take advantage of the people who are in their holiday slump right now. They're doing the Netflix and candy and all the things, and they need that help, that extra push. There's an availability of a discount for you. Again, that'll be in the show notes. So I'll stop talking and get into another video of me talking, a live stream. I hope you do enjoy it, and I'll talk with you again soon. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a beautiful day. Today, I wanted to do a quick little live stream to talk about nighttime wake-ups, because this is a question that I just continually get over and over and over again. What do I do if I wake up in the middle of the night? I'm waking up at 2, 3 in the morning. Is this normal? Do I wake up, early in the morning in the winter time? And so I just want to discuss this because it's a question I get often. I posted a reel about it last night and I thought I would expand on it because a lot of people seem to be interested in the topic. So welcome. I'm going to make a couple quick announcements first, and I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel when it's done, probably Friday. So this will stay up on my Instagram profile to watch indefinitely, but I'll also rip it down and put it on my YouTube channel for easier watching, because sometimes watching the Instagram replays are just cumbersome and annoying. So thanks everyone for coming on today. Before I really I have myself on task here to talk about all these things about why people wake up in the night and then possible solutions for them, I wanted to announce my coaching opportunities are open for January right now. I have 2 of them. So the first one's going to start on January the 6th, and that's going to be a 21-day Leptin challenge that we do with live calls and a group where you can submit questions. And then I'm doing a more intensive group coaching that's going to start at the end of January, where there's only going to be 20 people allowed. So if you want information on that, just comment info below this video. They're also going to be up in my profile, but just comment info and I'll send you the links for those. I'll also send you the link for my free cortisol guide, because everyone's really curious about the whole cortisol thing. And I feel like 2024 was the year of cortisol, where everybody went crazy talking about cortisol on Instagram. And there was a lot of confusing information that went out there. So 3 things I'll send you. Hi, Becky. Good to see you on here. If you're interested in getting more support from me come the new year, I have some opportunities open, and then you get my free cortisol guide if you comment info. And then just one more thing before I dive into the topic. The group that I'm going to run starting January 6th, there's an early bird discount that's going to expire on Christmas Day. So if you've been thinking, all right, I really want to get this extra support from Sarah, get on Zoom calls with her, all the things, comment info. There's an early bird special that ends next week on Christmas Day. If you want to get in on that early, because everyone's kind of in a holiday days right now. I'm like, everyone's just on their phones and eating their Christmas cookies and treats, and they're not really interested in health right now. So little incentive in case anyone's thinking about getting extra support. Just comment info and I'll send you the links for all that stuff. So let's talk about this night waking thing, because I would say it's one of the most commonly asked questions that I get when I do Zoom meetings with my membership group, or when I do Zoom meetings for coaching, right? It's like, what do I do about these 2 a.m., 3 a.m. workouts? And these tend to actually get worse in perimenopause, menopause. Yay, isn't that fun? We'll talk about why. I have a list so I can keep myself on track here. But one big thing I need people to understand is that the biggest reason your body is waking you up is because of an ingrained biology. Like, our biology is going to wake us up for survival. Now, there's so many reasons why your body thinks that it needs to wake you up to survive. It can be, and we'll talk about all that, it can be daytime stress, it can be mineral imbalances, it can be because you're simply not eating enough food, it can be your macronutrients are off. But essentially the reason why your body wakes you up is because your cortisol begins to rise. At night, in the world of circadian health, we talk about our master hormones. You've got cortisol, leptin, and melatonin. I consider those really the 3 master hormones. Everyone says insulin, but leptin actually signals the glucose insulin axis. So leptin I put as a hierarchy over insulin. So when you look at your hormones and how they operate on a circadian basis, we want cortisol to rise in the morning, and then we want it to go down by the time we're going to sleep, going to bed. That's why we do all the circadian things to support that, because blue light tells your brain, tells your body to make cortisol. And so at night, we want melatonin production, pineal melatonin, because we can make melatonin during the day, believe it or not. Subcellular melatonin is made by the mitochondria. We're not going to talk about that today, but just a little fun fact. You do make melatonin during the day in response to near infrared light, which you can get outdoors, which our modern environments don't have any. But melatonin is supposed to be made at night. But if your body is making cortisol, it actually halts your melatonin production. So if you're waking up in the night, your body has started making cortisol and has kind of shut down your melatonin production. But why? So there's a lot of reasons why your body is going to make cortisol in the night. Again, I always like to look at the body as a beautiful design that is always doing its best to keep you alive and protect you. So I don't like the whole conversation of my body is attacking itself and, my body's so stupid, and I don't like that. And I really encourage people to reject that type of thinking and that type of speaking if they do want health, right? Because the body is not, in my opinion, trying to attack you. It's always trying to protect you. And if you're waking up at night, your body thinks like, we need to go do something. There's something that we need. And so number one, and if you're just joining, I put a little blurb in. I'm doing some group coaching things, and you can also get my free cortisol guide that'll give you more about the whole circadian nature of these hormones if you comment info below this video. And if you're watching, I'm going to put this replay on YouTube. You don't need to comment anything. I'll just put everything in the info section and in the pinned comment. So All the links will be there if you're going to watch this on YouTube. But a big reason why a lot of people wake up in the night, and this also is going to impact your sex hormones, this is also going to impact your thyroid, this is also going to impact a lot of these downstream things, is they're metabolically inflexible. So our bodies are meant to be able to switch back and forth between fuel sources. You're not supposed to be a sugar burner all the time. You're supposed to be able to switch into fat burning mode and go into ketosis when you're sleeping. And a big problem with people, we have 93% of people, and this is based on a 2022 study essentially. There was one before that, I think that was done in 2017, 2018, that said 88% of the population is metabolically unhealthy. Now we're looking more like 93%, even 94%. But you don't need a study to like go outside and look around. Go to your local Walmart, just go outside and look around, and you're going to see people are inflamed. People are metabolically unhealthy. Post something, here's another little litmus test. Post something about skipping dinner on social media, and you will get outrage. You will get people very outraged and say, if I don't eat a bedtime snack, then I wake up in the night and I feel terrible and I feel sick. People don't understand that your body was designed so that you're not supposed to be having to eat all the way up to bedtime. You're not supposed to be waking up starving. Your body is supposed to be metabolically flexible so that you burn fat for fuel while you're sleeping. You make ketones. It's a biological thing. And yeah, Becky says they come out of the woodwork. Whenever you post anything about like intermittent fasting or anything like that, people will come out of the woodwork to tell you, like, if I skip dinner, I feel sick, I can't sleep, it's horrible, it's a bad idea. Your body is meant to be able to do this. We didn't always have these conveniences that we have in our modern society, the grocery stores, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying get rid of the stores and get rid of the conveniences, but we did not become to be in this day and time with grocery stores and food shipped all over the world. That wasn't how we lived for the majority of time. So essentially we've become very unhealthy and disconnected from what our basic biology is. And so one of the big reasons why, again, people wake up in the night is because they are metabolically inflexible and they are leptin resistant. And so they can't tap into their body's stored energy to burn for fuel while they're sleeping. And just one other thing about waking up in the night, it's normal to wake up at the end of a sleep cycle, but most people, they kind of are like, they don't wake and startle all the way up. They just kind of like maybe stir a little bit, go right back to sleep. That's that's like a teenager, somebody who's not stressed out that'll sleep, that they don't realize they're waking up. But you do wake up at the end of a sleep cycle, but typically you don't realize that you've woken up, you just go back to sleep. The problem that I have is when people wake up and they're up, right? Like you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you're like up, you're like ready to go. It means your cortisol awakening response is happening way too early. Why? Okay, so number one, I have this written down to make sure I stay on task, is that you're metabolically inflexible. Your body can't tap into its own stored energy. So you're leptin resistant. When you're leptin resistant, your brain has no idea how much energy is available. That could be in the liver, body fat, it doesn't know. And leptin is meant to dock to the brain at night when you're sleeping. Leptin and melatonin, they are supposed to both rise and peak at the same time. And so if you are up, if your life is stressful, if you're eating before bed, if you're eating too late, insulin can also be up. That can stop leptin from docking to the brain because the insulin receptor and the leptin receptor are right next to each other in the brain, and they can actually compete for docking space. So if your blood sugar's up, your insulin's up, leptin can't communicate with your brain. So again, it's an energy availability, like brain has no idea, does not compute. And leptin resistance happens before insulin resistance. And so a lot of people, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, are metabolically unhealthy. They may not even be pre-diabetic on a blood test. Their A1C may not be at that place where it's considered pre-diabetic by a doctor, but they're on their way there. And one of these things is like I'm waking up at night hungry. I can't go more than 4 or 5 hours between meals. Yeah, someone says, please save this talk. It'll be saved on my profile, and I'm also going to be posting it on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, you go to my bio and subscribe to that. So that's a big thing. It's just this metabolic inflexibility. Now, the solution to that, a lot of people are like, okay, so what do I just now all of a sudden stop, eating dinner? Do I go straight to ketosis? Do I go straight to carnivore? No, not if you're going to work with me. Some people will send you straight to ketosis or put you straight on carnivore, just take all your carbs away. I don't work that way with people because I find it to be ineffective. Well, it may work, but you're going to feel terrible for a while, and your sleep's going to be really messed up for a while, especially if you're not conscious with your minerals. I work with light. I'm going to have you shift your light. Yes, we're going to make dietary changes. Someone who's pregnant. Pregnancy is a different animal. Pregnancy is a natural state of leptin resistance because you're growing a human. My pregnancy was, I'll talk about that another time, but that was definitely a challenge for me. And it is for a lot of women. So if you're pregnant, give yourself a break here. But again, one of the things that people think to fix this issue of metabolic inflexibility, if you think your sleep is jacked up now, try to go straight into a keto diet. Try to go straight into a carnivore diet overnight. And then we're really going to have another problem. So I personally, if you want to jump straight into keto or carnivore diet, I'm not the one, okay? I'm not the one to come to. I'm going to have you fix your light environment first, because light modulates several things in your body, including your appetite regulation, including the cortisol melatonin balance, including leptin, so signaling leptin that happens in UVA light. Several things are supported and modulated by light. So, and someone wants me to talk about pregnancy. I'll talk about pregnancy in another chat. Not on this one though. Today I'm talking about night waking up and this situation with being metabolically inflexible. Why are your cortisols rising in the middle of the night? But essentially, if you're metabolically inflexible, if you're leptin resistant, this is a thing that is a big issue for people. And again, jumping straight into a keto diet, carnivore diet is not the solution. We need to work on your light environment first. And then we're going to make slow dietary changes. So we have to work to get someone metabolically flexible. We have to train the body so it can understand and learn how to burn fat for fuel. And it takes some time. It takes some support with minerals. And changing the light environment is a thing that most nutrition coaches are not doing. I think more and more people are catching on, which is awesome. And I created the My Circadian app. It's at My Circadian app. If you want to basically get a free course on circadian biology and understand your light environment, you can go download that, the free version. But you got to make these changes and you got to ease your body into becoming metabolically flexible. But what should happen, and one of the big reasons why people are waking up in the night, is because their body they've run out of fuel, and your cortisol is going to rise to wake you up because it thinks you need to go hunting. But if you're metabolically flexible, right, then you sleep right through it. Your body is like, oh, I can tap into the stored energy, right? I can burn this fat for fuel while I'm sleeping. I can regenerate. I can have these, correct hormonal processes going on. So that's number one. That's the big reason why people are waking up in the night. The second one, again, is cortisol can also kind of act as a hunter hormone. And so if you didn't eat enough during the day, if you're just literally not eating enough, your body will wake you up. So you can be eating a really good diet. You can be in a state of able to go back and forth between sugar burning and fat burning. You can be metabolically flexible, but if you're not eating enough, your body is going to wake you up to say, let's go get some food, right? So that can be a thing. But that's honest. Let's be honest. Most people are eating plenty of food. Most people are eating enough. It's more the issue of not being able to tap into, while you're sleeping, your stored body fat. Okay, so that's really more of the issue. The second thing really is mineral imbalances and cellular dehydration. So a lot of people will talk about magnesium. Magnesium is so important, magnesium. But under magnesium, I think at a base, most people have a sodium potassium imbalance. And so if you're low on these minerals, this can also cause sleep issues and wake you up. And so it's really, I don't have people do a lot of supplements. I don't really like it. I do have a protocol where we use some, different minerals, change your water. You can check out my water highlight if you're watching this on Instagram. I've got a bunch of free videos and a free guide you can download. So that's all in there. And then if you're just jumping on, I announced in the beginning of the video, I'm opening up some opportunities for some group coaching that starts on January 6th. And I'm doing an early bird special through next week on Christmas Day. You just comment info. I'll send you the links to get info on that stuff, as well as my free cortisol guide, because the free cortisol guide is really going to show you about your light and dark cycles. It's going to cover the light piece. It's not necessarily going to cover the nutrition piece that we get into in the Leptin program and in some of my other content, but that cortisol guide will really explain to you the circadian nature of your hormones. So just comment info if you want those links and I'll send them over. And if you're watching this on YouTube, because I'm going to save it there, all the links I'm talking about are down in the show notes. So mineral imbalances and cellular hydration is another issue why you could be waking up at night. The next thing is going to be circadian rhythm disruption. And this is, again, that info is in my cortisol guide. And I teach it for free here on Instagram. I teach it for free on YouTube, in my podcast. It's all over the place. I have free guides, also free ebooks on my website, www.sarahkleinerwellness.com. I've got a blog I've been updating. So I have a ton of free stuff if you're new here and you just want to grab some free resources. But circadian rhythm disruption, and a lot of people just don't even take notice of the lights that could be shining in through their window that could be disrupting their circadian rhythm. So when you go to bed, the 3 hours leading up to bed, you really want to block the blue and green frequencies. So getting a good pair of blue blockers is really important. On my website, I have a free guide to using blue blockers that has the brands that I like, including an inexpensive brand I get off of Amazon. And then I also have, the My Circadian app, which will kind of walk you through this. You want to make sure you're blocking the blue and green frequencies about 3 to 4 hours before bed. And then you want the lux, which is essentially the brightness in your environment, to be low enough so that your body can stop making cortisol and get the signal to start making melatonin. Because if you're waking up in the night, it's also a signal that you could be exposed to unnatural blue light frequencies too much during the day, too close to bedtime. Hello, phone screens, TV. Like, what is everybody in the world doing? Everyone's turning on the big lights, watching the TV, got the phone in the face, and they're like, why am I waking up in the night? What's going on? Because you're sending the signal to your brain that it's the middle of the day, even though it's like 10 o'clock at night. And so what do you think is going to happen? Your hormones are not going to be syncing the way that they're supposed to be syncing if you're giving your body the signal it's the middle of the day. Oh, and if you're eating too close to bed, another signal that it's still the middle of the day. And so there's a lot of things going on with people that are creating this issue where they're waking up in the night. And circadian disruption is a big one that I think is very, very overlooked. So in the My Circadian app, you can measure the lux in your environment. So you want to block the blue and green, so you want to get a good pair of blue blockers. You also want to make sure the room that you're in is dim enough. And so on the My Circadian app, which is free to download, it's at My Circadian app on Instagram. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a link in the description for you. You measure the lux. And so 3 hours leading up to bed should be 10 and below. And then your sleeping environment should be 1 and below. And so if you're in your bedroom and the lux is like 15, then that could be waking you up. That could still be giving your brain the signal to get up in the night. And so that's, something that's really overlooked with these night wake-ups is like, what's your sleeping environment like, and what was your evening environment like leading up to bedtime? The app is free to download. There is a paid version where you can get unlimited access to some features, which is like $3.99 a month, but there's a free version where you get all the info, you get all the free videos that teach you about light. It's like basically a free course in circadian biology that's embedded into the app under the free video guide. So I've worked really hard to make it very accessible to everyone so everyone can learn about the importance of light and darkness and understanding lux and these things like that, and how it can disrupt your hormones on, on a basic level. The next thing, is hormonal shifts. And this is a big one. Like I mentioned in the very beginning of this chat, once you get to a certain age, right, your ovaries, ladies, are starting to do less of the work, and your adrenals are going to begin to take over. The adrenals make these sex hormones. And mitochondria makes pregnenolone, which is a master hormone for sex hormones as well as cortisol. And so once you get into that age where your ovaries are starting to do, thank you, Becky. Becky put the link to the app in the chat. Your ovaries are doing less of the work. Your adrenals are picking up more of the slack. And so if you are a stressed out person, this is going to impact your hormone levels, because pregnenolone, this master hormone, your body is like, okay, are we running from a bear? Which your body doesn't know the difference between you freaking out over an email or a comment you got on Instagram or your boss yelling at you or whatever, and a bear chasing you. So it's going to take this pregnenolone and it's going to put it all in the cortisol pathway because it thinks you're being chased by a bear and it thinks you need to survive. Guess what that is going to do to progesterone? Guess what that's going to do to your estrogen? It's going to tank it out. And progesterone is the hormone that helps you stay calm, get better sleep. And again, when you start to get into that perimenopausal state, your hormones are naturally fluctuating. They're kind of shifting. And so if you're living this really high stress environment, a lot of blue light, just a lot of stress in general, which, hey, it's kind of a cruel joke because a lot of us in this age and stage of life have teenagers and aging parents, right? And so it's just like, okay, crap, we got to deal with a lot. And so you really have to, in this age, get better about prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your light environment, and prioritizing your diet. As we talked about in the beginning of this chat, these fluctuations and becoming metabolically flexible, again, kind of an annoying ass cruel joke. As you get older, your estrogen begins to drop, ladies, which makes you less insulin sensitive. So you are not able to eat the same thing you were able to eat in your 20s. Your body doesn't process it the same way. You don't have the same sensitivity. And so when you're in this age and stage of life, really becoming metabolically flexible, respecting these changes that you need to make with your light, with your nutrition, with your stress management are so important, because this is the biggest thing I see with my ladies of this age, especially. And honestly, I'm seeing more and more of it in my 30s and in my 20s women, because guess what happens if you live a high stress life, no matter what age you're in, if you're reproductive age, cortisol will absolutely destroy your body's ability to make progesterone. It's going to tell your body like, hey, we're running from a bear. We don't need to ovulate. Sorry, doesn't need to happen. We got other stuff to worry about. We don't need to make a baby, okay? And so I see more and more women in their 30s and in their late 20s not ovulating, low progesterone, again, because of this high stress life. It starts with your light environment. It starts with your nutrition and being metabolically flexible, able to tap into stored energy on the body and being leptin sensitive. It's a whole thing. And so the waking up in the night is a biological protective mechanism. We need to hunt this girl, or if you're a guy, it happens to men too. Most of my audience is women, so I typically tailor more of my content to women, but I know I still do have some men also. But your body is typically like, hey girl, we're in trouble. We got to wake up. We got to go hunting. We got things to do. It doesn't care if you really want a good night of sleep because you're exhausted. it's going to kick into survival mode. And so just to review, if you're just jumping on, becoming metabolically flexible, look at leptin resistance. And when you look at the literature on leptin resistance, it's correlated to all these reproductive issues. That's how I got into studying leptin, was I wanted to get pregnant in my 40s. And I'm like, what can I do, right? I was trying all the conventional stuff. It's when I fell down the leptin rabbit hole and realized it's connected to fertility, but it's also connected to endometriosis, adenomyosis, hot flashes, PMS, PNDD. You can go on PubMed and find all this stuff. It's readily available, but leptin, again, is basically giving directions to your thyroid, your sex hormones. And so if you're waking up in the night, there's a reason why. And leptin resistance is a part of that, being unable to tap into stored energy on the body. And then again, if you're not eating enough, period, you know, I get people that they try to do keto. And like, I just decided I would stop eating carbs, and then I stopped sleeping. Why? Well, because your body doesn't understand why you just decided to change your diet like that, and it thinks you're dying. So guess what? It's going to wake you up to go get some food. So it's really, really imperative to make these changes and to support yourself gradually, not to just jump into things, unless you're okay with just feeling bad for a month. And there are coaches out there that will support you if that's the route you want to take. But just saying. And then again, looking at cellular hydration, mineral imbalance, circadian rhythm disruptions, and then not respecting your hormonal rhythms and hormonal shifts and changes. And I can't reiterate enough how important it is for women that are in this stage of life where hormones are shifting, that you understand the more of a stress case that you are, the more stress you put on yourself, the more you're going to feel it. The more you're going to wake up in the night, the more you're going to have issues, not feel well, because your body's just more sensitive. Right? It's just an age and stage of life that's more sensitive. So what questions do you guys have? I know there've been a lot that I've missed. So if you put one in there earlier, feel free to pop it back in if it's on the topic, because I'll do these lives and get some really off the wall questions every now and then. And then if you're just joining, as I've mentioned a few times already in the chat, so thanks for listening to me say it again, I'm opening up some coaching options. Now, there's an early bird special through Christmas that'll allow you to take about $50 off of a January leptin group. Comment info if you want the link for that. And then I'm also opening up a smaller group coaching option that's going to be a bit more of an investment in January as well. And there's a wait list for that. I'll send you the link. I'll also send you my cortisol guide if you comment info. But I'm happy to answer questions while I'm on. Like I said, the little thing has just been like zooming by. If you are pregnant, I do have a section in the Leptin Reset to talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, and chronic illness. Does a high protein diet help with leptin resistance? Absolutely. You really, really want to look at the literature and leptin resistance in diet, and protein is at the top of the list of an important macronutrient for leptin signaling. So eating enough protein is very, very, very important. And that's in, all my guides. It's all the nutrition stuff that I teach. So absolutely. And can you reset your hormones while breastfeeding? It's harder. It's definitely harder, but you can. You definitely can. I followed my leptin program. Let me scroll back up here. I followed my leptin program all the way through my pregnancy to the best of my ability. Made some modifications because everything was a little jacked up during first trimester. But followed it, pregnancy, breastfeeding. I'm leaner now than before I was when I got pregnant. And I am about to be 46. And so I definitely believe this stuff works really well. And I'm not the only one. I've got a lot of great testimonials. If you go to my website, we've got a great testimonial page. So it's not just me. I have like a cohort of women in their mid 40s right now in my membership group that are pregnant too. It's not a pregnancy group. It's not a pregnancy program, but people do get pregnant from it. How many hours do you sleep each night? Does it shift in the winter? I definitely sleep more in the winter time. Definitely. My bedtime in winter, I try to get to bed by 9 p.m. in the winter. If I can get to bed at 8:30, I'm so happy. My kids go to bed at 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the winter. And I have a 17-year-old. So I'm very strict with the lighting in my house, like circadian lighting. And I have a new blog. I just redid my website and there's a blog. And I just did a blog post called How to Avoid Wearing Blue Blockers in the Winter. Because I have 2 kids that are not going to wear blue blockers. And so I have my house really set up for circadian lighting. And so sun goes down here at 5:30 right now. My kids are ready to go to sleep at 7 o'clock, 7:30. They're in bed early. I try to be in bed by 9, 8:30 makes me really happy in the winter. In the summertime, I'll, sometimes stay up till 10 o'clock is usually my time, but I'll probably sleep an extra hour, sometimes 2 more hours in the winter versus summer. And I, try to get 8, 9 hours, sometimes more. It just depends on the night, how tired I am. What would be your first change if you were starting over now? It would definitely be light environment, because it's like I tried all the diets, all the nutritional protocols, all the fasting methods. They all would have worked 10 times better if I fixed my master hormones, right? If I fixed my light and dark cycles and I gave my nervous system, the nervous system thing is hot right now. A lot of people are talking about nervous system and I think it's very valuable. Free basic thing you can do for your nervous system and give your body a sense of safety is have your light and dark cycles synced up. Huge. If your body doesn't know what day and time it is, what time of year it is, how do you think your nervous system is going to respond? So if I was starting over today, I would definitely start with light. Some questions are like specific medical advice I can't give. Let's see. Should Beam minerals be taken? I haven't tried Beam. My partner Carrie is big on Beam. I typically use Quinton minerals, and isotonic is the one that I'll tell people to try if they want to get parasympathetic support. I used isotonic a ton during my pregnancy with headaches. So isotonic is more medicinal. It's more for getting in parasympathetic. Quinton is the one I use as just like a daily mineral support. I haven't tried the Beam. Still haven't gotten on the Beam train yet. Someone says, I didn't realize the impact of light environment can have on endo. Oh yeah. If you look at research on leptin resistance and endometriosis, circadian disruption and hormonal cancers, huge. And so the impact that our circadian rhythms have on our hormones is crazy. And so if someone wants to fix their hormones, a lot of people are like, I want to fix my hormones. I'm like, well, we got to start with the master hormones, cortisol, melatonin, and leptin. Those are your master hormones. Cortisol, you want it to rise in the morning. And at the same time cortisol is rising, leptin should be at its lowest point. And then at night, you want melatonin peaking about the same time that leptin is peaking. They have a relationship, these 3 hormones. So how are cortisol levels measured? I will tell people you just go get an Amazon test that gives you a saliva cortisol. Now, if you want to work with a practitioner and spend a lot of money, you can get a Dutch test, but those are pretty pricey. If someone basically just wants to know their cortisol levels, I would just get a saliva cortisol test, a 4-point that you can get over on Amazon, and those will, you'll test your saliva at different points of the day. And it'll tell you, is it rising as it should in the morning? What does it look like midday, afternoon? Is it too high? And does it go down nice and low where it should be in the evening? And I would guarantee you that most people, their cortisol is dysfunctional in some way. So when we talk about cortisol, people will say, I've got high cortisol. I'm like, well, you want to have high cortisol at certain points in the day. But at other points in the day, you don't want to have high cortisol, and you definitely don't want to have high cortisol in the middle of the night when you wake up. Like that will wake you up. And again, if you're just jumping onto the conversation, cortisol is the reason you're waking up at night. Now, what's causing the high cortisol? So many different things could be causing it, but it could be metabolic inflexibility, which is a huge problem since, like I mentioned, about 93-94% of people are metabolically unhealthy. So that's a huge one, is metabolic inflexibility, poor blood sugar regulation, not fat adapted, unable to burn stored energy for fuel. This also causes a lot of issues in menopause, perimenopause, with hot flashes, and because of the estrogen impact. It's all tied together. It all works together. Yay. Someone says they have my app and they're learning a lot. I'm so glad. Let's see if there's any more questions before I jump off here. What evening lights do you love? I love to, I try not to use a lot of lights in the night, but I do have like a panel. This is I just turned it on. I've got a EMR Tech panel here on the floor. And if you have an EMR Tech, I recommend putting it on the infrared only setting, putting it on the floor, because one reason I hate the big lights is because it's going to activate the system in your brain that says, let's make cortisol. It's the lights that come from overhead, because think about it. Where is the sun in the daytime? It's up overhead. Where does the sun go at sunset and at sunrise? Down at the horizon. So your lights in the evening, ideally, you want to have lamps, you want to have lights on the floor. If you've got a family member that is going to be turning on other lights that are not circadian friendly, blue blockers. And again, I've got a whole article on my website, www.sarahkleinerwellness.com. Go to my blog under free resources, and I have a brand new article that talks about how to avoid wearing blue blockers in the evening, right? So how to set up your lighting environment so that you don't have to wear them, because it is possible to do. Even though you can't watch TV though, if you want to do that. What about, I don't know about buoy drops. Would you supplement vitamin D? I don't tell anybody what to do with supplements anymore, to be honest with you. I just don't feel like comfortable doing that anymore. I used to be like, no, always do this, never do that. I'm like, there's too much nuance. So I don't give anyone supplement advice. When I was pregnant, I can tell you what I did. I used a vitamin D lamp and a red light therapy panel to keep my vitamin D levels up. Kept my level at a 60 my entire pregnancy. No vitamin D supplements. That was my personal decision and choice after doing my own research and looking and talking with Jim Stevenson Jr. Again, personal decision. Also, I know how to optimize melatonin in the winter, which melatonin binds to the vitamin D receptor. So it mimics a lot of the things that vitamin D does in the summer, in the winter, for your immune system, brain health, all of these things. And so it's important to really dig into the research, and don't rely on people like me to tell you what supplements to take and not take. And I'm not going to do it anymore. Yes, incandescent bulbs are awesome. Someone says they're trying to help their daughters fix their light environment in their apartment. It's so unfortunate that you can't get incandescent bulbs in California anymore. It's such a shame. Because one thing that was really eye-opening for me, and it's on that blog post that I keep on mentioning about avoiding blue blockers, is I bought a spectrometer. I invested in one of those because they're a couple $1,000s now. I bought a used one on eBay. I didn't pay $2,000 for it. But having a spectrometer and measuring the different light sources around my home to see which one has a huge spike in blue. The incandescent bulb is just great because you're getting tons of red and infrared light from those bulbs. And that's the big thing that our bodies are missing from not going outdoors enough. Someone lives in Georgia and they're out. I know, I'm like, I got to get off of here so I can go outside. I did go hiking with my husband this morning outdoors, but it is a gorgeous day here in Georgia. Let's see. Any more questions? I am going to repost this on YouTube, and this will stay on my Instagram in case you're joining late. When should I use my infrared or red light? I like anytime the sun is up, honestly. When do we have infrared light? When the sun is up. It's actually available, near infrared and far infrared are both available from daybreak all the way to sunset. And the red and infrared are really abundant during the sunset and the sunrise times. There's no UV light during those times. Again, the My Circadian app will tell you when each of these windows of time are available for free in the free version. And so I really prefer people to use a red light panel during the day as a short answer to that. I've never tried CMOS gel, to be honest with you. Sorry, I'm scrolling through. I missed the vitamin D topic. Yeah, I just honestly, I really recommend people to dig in and decide what makes the most sense for you. Because there's a lot of, on social media, you can get a lot of views and a lot of engagement. If you say like, you should never do this, you should always do that. But I've learned from being out here the last 5-6 years that there's no like generalized information for everyone. There's always like shades of gray with so many things. I feel like I do all the right things and I still wake at 3:30, 4 o'clock, eager to hear what I've missed. So the thing is, do you wake up and are you up for the day at 3:30 in the morning? That's a problem. If you wake up at 3:30, maybe you go pee and then you go back to bed and you sleep, I don't have an issue with that because you do typically wake up at the end of every sleep cycle. That's just the way our bodies operate. But if you're awake for the day at 3:30 or 4, it also depends on what time did you go to bed. Did you go to bed at 8 o'clock? Did you go to bed at 7 o'clock? Your body might, at 4 a.m. say, I've had enough sleep. And if you look up how we used to sleep, we had more segmented sleep. People did wake up early and they would use that time, 4 o'clock in the morning to meditate, to pray. It's a really beautiful, sacred time of the day. I have another blog post on my website that dives into this and basically gives you the physiological difference between going to bed at 9 p.m. versus going to bed at midnight. What does that look like hormonally? And should you be concerned about these early morning wake ups? That's also on my blog at the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube or website. Go under free resources, hit blog, and that will also be there. Going to bed at 9 p.m. versus midnight. And then I also go into those early 4 a.m. wake ups. That's more likely to happen during the winter if you've gone to bed early. Can we use amber light bulbs instead of regular light bulbs? Sure. If you can't get the incandescent bulbs, which you can't in California, and I hope they don't do it in all the states, but you never know. I'm stocked up on incandescents. But Huga is a brand that I've used before. My husband hates them, by the way. But they don't have any blue light. They're like 1600 Kelvin. So that's the same kind of intensity, color temperature as sunrise and sunset is around 1600 Kelvin. I have those linked in my product guide. So you can use those instead of regular light bulbs. It's important though, when we talk about light bulbs, like one of my least favorite things to talk about is light bulbs, because I just want people to go outside. You can't mimic what's going on outside. The amount of blue light that's available is changing all day long. If you're not going outside, you're missing UV light. You're missing natural red and infrared that your mitochondria need to keep you hydrated, to repair. So you're making subcellular melatonin. There's so many things that we need from going outdoors. Now, I understand like it's getting so dark so early, especially since we're almost at winter solstice. So the good news about it getting dark so early here in the Northern Hemisphere is that's about to flip and it's about to just start getting a little bit earlier every single day. So that's going to shift and change. That's good news. But I understand like you gotta look and see, get around your house. So I love incandescent bulbs. If you can get them, you can also get the blue blocking. I end up using a lot of red light therapy panels, like the small ones around my house. And I also use UV bug zappers. There's a link to one in that article I keep talking about, because UV is below the spectrum of blue and green that disrupts your circadian rhythm. So it's kind of fun to have these kind of black lights around the house. Reminds me of high school. Is it okay to use EMR Tech panel at night locally on a specific body part such as a hip? I don't have a huge problem with that. You don't want to get that light into your eyes, because I've measured the EMR Techs with the Lux meter on the My Circadian app, and it is enough to disrupt your melatonin production if it comes in through your eye. So I'll typically have people, if they're going to do a treatment on their body, to make sure it's not on their eye, not looking at it, and use infrared only, which on the EMR Tech panel, that's going to be the LED setting. So the cob is the red, and that's way too bright to use after sunset. And so you'd only want to use the LED or the infrared. Let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah, someone says, always and never statements are silly. There's so many nuances to things. I'm waking up from itching on my arms. I have no idea what that could be. It could be histamine. Histamine can be activated at night also, which is also like, it plays in with the whole cortisol thing. And the gut. I travel a lot with work, so what is the best solution for drinking water? Try to look for Mountain Valley Spring in glass. You can get that a lot of places. An Icelandic or a Voss water. Those are great. I'll go to Avion if that's the only thing I can find, but I don't really travel very often. I typically bring my water, like make my own water, bring it with me everywhere I go. Let's see if there's any more questions. It's so tricky during the holidays with all the neighbors' lights. Oh yeah, I've got blackout curtains. I live in the middle of the city, so blackout curtains are non-negotiable for me here. I've got to have blackout curtains because we've got Christmas lights, floodlights, street lights. The light pollution is insane. And so if you don't have the blackout curtains where I live, you're in trouble. HRT question mark. What about HRT? I know I was going to get that question with this topic. With HRT, I'm not someone who's like, again, all or nothing. No, absolutely not. I think there can be some utilization of it. If you're a woman who is in your 20s, in your 30s, I'm generally going to say we really need, and even in perimenopause and menopause, if you haven't optimized your master hormones, cortisol, leptin, melatonin, and you do something like HRT, it could create a cortisol issue. It could make you not feel so good. With women who are younger, it can shut down your body's ability to ovulate. And so I don't say, because I know a lot of people will say, I'm waking up in the night and I need HRT. That's not the first place I'm going to go. Am I going to tell you never to use it? If you're going to use it, hormone replacement therapy, you really want to work with a practitioner who one-to-one who can continue to monitor you, test your levels, because there's a lot of people out there that just you can get whatever you want these days. You can get peptides, you can get hormones, you can get anything now. And I don't think that's necessarily a great thing. It's good, but it's not good, because I've had a lot of people come to my community very messed up from a DIY hormone replacement therapy routine, or working with a practitioner who's not sensitive to optimizing the diet, optimizing the lifestyle and the master hormones before they get someone on hormone replacement therapy. So yes, having low progesterone can absolutely wake you up in the night. Estrogen going down rapidly can absolutely wake you up in the night. But can we optimize your body's ability to make these hormones through optimizing your master hormones first? Get that really dialed in. Those are the people that are in my community who typically do the best with hormone replacement therapy if they choose to use it. They work on these master hormones, get their blood sugar in a great place, become metabolically healthy, and able to tap into their body's own stored energy, right? And then they can try the HRT. It doesn't cause a cortisol bleep storm. That's one of the worst things, is creating a cortisol issue. And it doesn't cause all these other problems because they've optimized the other things first. So I've got a podcast coming about HRT, hormone replacement therapy, in January. So that's coming up. Let me see if there's any more questions. And if you're just jumping on, this will be saved so you can go back and watch it from the beginning. And I'm opening up some coaching opportunities. January 6th, I'm doing a 21-day group, and there's an early bird special through Christmas Day. So if you grab it now, trying to take advantage of people who are in their Christmas slump. Right now, they've resigned themselves to cookies and Netflix and chocolate right now. And so I'm like, hey, here's a discount if you want to get in on this group. It starts January 6th, but the discount's only available through Christmas Day. Comment info if you want the link to get more information on that below this video. I'll send it to you. If you're watching on YouTube, it's in the show notes. AquaTrue carbon filter with minerals. Is that enough or right minerals? I don't like that one, to be honest with you. Go to my water highlight and there's some recommendations, but you know, I have a system that supposedly adds some minerals back in, and I still add my Quinton hypertonic because I feel a difference. Mineralization and minerals is a very individual thing, and everyone's going to have a different mineral balance depending on what they eat, depending on where they live, depending on the water that they drink, depending on their stress levels and their body's cellular hydration, your body's ability to hold on to water, because we always think about what can we ingest, what can we put into the body, but we don't understand that your mitochondria make water and your body is 99% water by molecular volume, and your body holds on to water. Things like non-native EMF, things like excessive blue light, these all impact your body's ability to hold on to water. And so we can pour in all the minerals, we can pour in all the right things, but if we're constantly losing water due to our environment, not getting enough sunlight, because far infrared light expands that exclusion zone water, that cellular water, fourfold, right? And how many people are not getting any infrared light in their day because they're indoors all the time? So hydration is kind of a multifaceted topic. Any suggestions for Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism? I have very low antibodies and carnivore. So you are carnivore right now. And I have a lot of women that have reversed Hashimoto's with my leptin reset program, but the diet's important. But what's more important, I think, with Hashimoto's, with the immune system, because remember, your body is always taking instructions from light. You've got to get your light environment dialed in. Let's see. Do you put isotonic or hypertonic in your water? Do you know what the ratio is? I don't measure out my minerals anymore. I have a loading protocol in my leptin reset program. 10 mLs is 1 vial, but I'll typically have people start with 2 to 3 vials a day. See how that sits with them. You can take it straight or you can mix it in your water. It's up to you. If you start to get loose stools, you've done too much. There's your sign. But that's typically where I start people. And some people can't tolerate the hypertonic. They got to start with the isotonic. So there's all kinds of, again, nuances with that. I have Hashimoto's, not on medications, as I refuse. What are the main things to focus on to stop inflammation? Except stress. I already know this. Yeah. So your light environment is the thing that most people aren't talking about with any autoimmune condition, because again, light is signaling the immune system. Leptin also signals the immune system hugely. And so really looking at your body through this lens of leptin, cortisol, melatonin, getting these master hormones. And a lot of people will ask me very specific questions for very specific conditions. My answer is typically very similar. We have to work on mitochondria. If your mitochondria is getting the wrong information, that's going to manifest for you differently, maybe for someone that has a genetic predisposition to have a different dysfunction, but it's a sign of dysfunction, right? So we have to give the mitochondria the right signals through light, through nutrition, through syncing up these different hormones. All these things are really, really important no matter what the condition. And again, if you're waking up in the night, it's a sign your cortisol is going up in the night. Why? Again, go back to the beginning of the video. I kind of discussed all these things, but that's a big reason why. Salt lamp with incandescent night at light, good. Yes, I think those are great. I love the salt lamps. What would be the best mineral tests or brands you or Sarah could recommend? If you're going to do a hair tissue mineral analysis, I would have someone like Dr. Sarah Pugh read it. Oh, we're getting a thumbs up here on the video. Oh, and fireworks. Wow. We're celebrating. Wow, that's a lot. Okay. I don't know how I just did that. That was crazy looking. All right. If you're going to do a hair tissue mineral analysis, get someone like Dr. Sarah Pugh to read it. I also know the Real Food Gangsters or Gangstas, Josh and Jeannie, they understand quantum biology. They've done my courses, they've done Carrie's courses, and so they understand how to look at an HTMA and actually see your light environment is really messed up. Your non-native EMFs are messed up. You are not eating any potassium-rich foods. Like your sodium, they understand like you've got a lot of stress going on, because you can get a hair tissue mineral analysis and be low on different minerals, be low on different things. But the question isn't like, or the answer isn't like, I need to pour all these supplements down my throat. The question is, and a good practitioner will say, what's going on in your life? Why is your body making these compensations? Why are you low on this particular thing? What's happening in your life that your body feels it needs to compensate for? Like I said in the beginning of the chat, your body is very brilliant. Your body is always trying to protect you. It's always trying to keep you alive. It's not attacking you. It's not, you waking up in the middle of the night, going back to the original topic of this conversation, is a biological imprint that your body thinks that needs to go hunting to save you, to keep you alive. So always a reason to dig deeper. Okay, let me see if there's any more, and then I'm going to jump off before we get, I don't know, how can I make the fireworks go again? That was really fun. Okay, all right. Well, I think that's it, guys. I'm going to save this. What brands would I recommend for, Upgraded Formulas is a brand that I think my code there is Yogi. They have a hair tissue mineral analysis test. I'll be honest though, I wouldn't get the consultation with them because you're going, I hope they're not listening, but they're going to tell you to take a lot of supplements and give you like $500 of things you need to buy. There's a business model behind the whole thing. And they are one of my podcast sponsors. So I think they have a great test, but I wouldn't get the consultation with them. I would get a consultation with Dr. Sarah Pugh or with Josh and Jeannie, who can look at the test and say and talk to you and have a conversation about your life, about your nutrition, your light environment, because that's going to impact your body's mineral balance. What's going on? Do you recommend an EMF protection blanket for pregnant belly? I like the Wellness Enterprise and what they're doing with harmonizing. So if you go to the Wellness Enterprise website, they've got a lot of great information up there. All right, everyone, I'm going to go, but I'll post this on YouTube if you want easier watching. Stickers, I was like not a fan, but the Wellness Enterprise, they're doing some things with biogeometry, and they do have stickers. I haven't looked into it, but most of the stickers are total junk. But the ones at Wellness Enterprise, their biogeometry, they're a lot more legit than like most of these other companies. So HTMA is a business. So yeah, it's interesting information, but why? Why is this happening? Just like the waking up in the night, it's information. All right, everyone have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk with you soon.